Okay.
Thanks very much for your time, Dave. We are working on ASME QEI 1 standard qualification for elevator inspectors. We have a commenting opportunity here. My colleague David Flynn is actually on this committee, so we have all the thoughts are on pretty good authority. I want to let our audience understand that we're looking at this document here. This was posted in last Friday's ANSI Standards Action, and I'll let Dave explain, but I'm gonna go over what I hope to accomplish in this short teleconference. One is a more complete understanding what the real content is of this. Um, we'll know a little bit more about, Dave will explain a little bit more about what the core material is all about since he's on that committee. And then finally, I'd like to know something about these different organizations that appear to be competing for the accreditation, education, and certification dollar. So, Dave, it's your airplane. Thanks very much for your time. Why don't you go ahead and help us a little bit? Walk us through this document, please.
Okay. To start, first off, the QEI document is renewed every 3 years. It's a continuing developing standard that develops the qualifications for all elevator inspectors in the states that recognize the QEI 1 standard. It is part of the A17 family of documents pertaining to elevators, and the qualifications of and duties of inspectors are laid out as far as their affiliations, no conflict of interest, look out for the customer and the public safety aspects of all installations, follow the code and make sure that when they're inspecting to the proper year of the code that is in force in that jurisdiction, and this lays out the format that they have to follow in order to be a qualified inspector. The certifications are done by taking written tests and passing the written test with an 80 or better, and then renewing your continuing education units of 10 hours per year at the present time. So the qualifications are there, set forth in the QEI manual, and are pretty explicit as to what documents they have to have on hand for inspection of individual elevators, as well as the authority overseeing them submit reports to the authority having jurisdiction saying that they've completed this and these are the deficiencies and or there are no deficiencies. So it's done by following the QEI 1 proposed language so that everybody's on the same page. There's no difference between the different jurisdictions. They all follow the same format as long as they adopted A17, the QEI 1 code. The requirements for accredited certifying organizations are such that there's currently 2 organizations that are certified by the American National Standards Institute. One is the Elevator Industry Work Preservation Fund, and the other is NACIA, which is the National Association of Elevator Safety Authorities International.
Dave, did you say the Elevator Industry Preservation Fund? Is that what you said?
Yes. That's through the International Union of Elevator Constructors. There's a division of their entity that deals strictly with certification of individuals, and they go through the same requirements according to QEI, that they have to have 10 continuing education hours per year. They have to sit for an original examination and be up to date and have all code books necessary for the complete inspection of an elevator.
Okay, I'm going to back up a minute, and I don't want to belabor this too much. So, what I wanted to get clear in this teleconference is ASME develops A17.1, which is kind of like one of the oldest standards in the United States. It's alongside the National Electrical Code as far as as far as comprising the technical literature of a particular technology. So it's an important document, very well respected. But what I see here is that ASME is, since they are the parent organization or developer A17, they leave the actual safety standards that individual elevator technicians deal with to A17, and then what this does, how this document extends that scope is that now if we were to imagine a part 1.5, it would probably be one that involved reference A17.1, because that's the technician level. Now, let me finish. So this is now the next level up, the duties of the inspectors, and then this is the duties of the inspection supervisors, and this is the requirements for accredited certifying organizations. So we see very much a vertical, I'm not going to call it integration, but vertical ownership of elevator technologies here. I just wanted to point that out on what ASME has done. We see this in other industries as well, but this is a fairly clear example of what might be called a vertical integration or vertical ownership of a particular technology. So I'm sorry, Dave, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, you're on the right track. I mean, it is a vertical because requirements in QEI require that the individual, before he can sit for that examination, have a set period of time that he has to be actively working and pursuing the elevator trade, so that he understands the workings of the equipment, so that he has a full understanding of its safety characteristics and can fulfill those things when he's doing the inspection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Good. So now another thing I wanted to point out here is it doesn't appear that there are what I would call substantive changes. And Dave reminds us that these are really answers to questions that were proposed to the committee, and this particular committee chairman posted them for comment. So that's the ASME process. It starts to look a little bit like a continuous maintenance process. You know, if we go here and look at ANSI's, let's see, where's ANSI's standard at? If we go farther up here, you will see that ANSI actually lists those organizations whose standards suites are moved continuously. I don't know if ASME is on there. Yes, it is. Okay, so of the 250 odd standards developers, only a few of them, maybe 25 of them, are moving on 30-day intervals. Most of them run on 3 to 5 day intervals. So this is just some insight into how the ASME executes its standard maintenance process. Where I think we need to focus, and of course we have to put our priority where we think we're going to get the most bang for the buck, is here, this area here. Dave tells me that even though these are the core duties here, that there are only 4 to 9, 5 pages. There are quite a bit of content there, and I guess I'm inclined to agree, because what it appears that ASME has done here is they're actually setting the rules for organizations like this. So they're saying we're not going to get in the accreditation business of accredited requirements for accredited certifying organizations. But this is an American national standard, so this is a standards organization that wants to oversee another standards organization, right? If these guys are ANSI accredited,
Yes.
if they're ANSI accredited, I don't see that right here, but I'll take your word for it. So we have what I would call an overlord relationship of a trade association trying to put an umbrella over other trade associations. I'm not really concerned about that relationship as I am making sure that we're not doing too much in some area and too little in other. Well, obviously, our first priority is safety. Where are we falling short of safety? And then what are we doing too much of, which threatens economy, which has a way of circling back and affecting our safety, the money we have for safety. So I just wanted to get that across. So I'm going to summarize here, Dave. I don't know if we want to advocate in this, but we do need to get the entire document. What we have here is only a piece of the document, only a small part of the document.
Yeah, but understand, I do have the complete document, and the university has on file the complete document. Okay? So anyone wanting to look at it can go to ASME and chat with them about the openness of the individual code, and can be gathered in any public library as well, you know.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I get that. But our business
it's not a matter that it's not available.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I also want them to be in business. I'll always restate these in these teleconferences. We need these guys in business. I'd much rather have these decisions made by among experts. Let's fit a transparent, open, and balanced assembly of materially affected stakeholders. To repeat some of ANSI's language. I'd rather have them do it rather than Senate staffers or legislators in service of government relations professionals. So we know that drill. So we'll get hold of this thing, but where my suspicion the excess is, because this starts to look a little bit like log rolling. You know what I mean by log rolling? We're making rain for each other, to use another metaphor. But this organization here, I'm not against training. I know the technologies are getting more complicated. We've been saying that for 100 years, but that's the case in elevator technologies. I'm going to look a little bit more in here. So I put this, and also this organization here, which we know of, but we would put this in the middle of the pack because elevators really affect how we can use our buildings. Elevators affect land use, egress safety, how building functions. So even though we may only spend less than 5% on them, they have an outsized influence on the functionality, safety, and frankly the beauty of the building. So I think that's all I want to say on this particular standard. I thought that was interesting that I picked a few universities that have very tall buildings to deal with, and tall elevators, and I thought Moscow State University and the University of Pittsburgh have rather remarkable elevators. Imagining the maintenance budget on these guys. So that's a pretty fair teleconference for today, Dave. Anything else we'd like to add on this here that I might have that's important? We're going to meet again in 2 weeks, of course. But anything you want to say in closing on this particular standard?
Just that it's the interest of the safety of the riding public that this code has to deal with. Make sure that anyone that works on them or inspects them is properly trained and certified to fulfill and make sure that all the terms of A17.1 are in place for the individual pieces of elevator equipment or vertical transportation equipment. It deals with escalators as well as moving walks. So this particular code, QEI-1, is a code that is there to separate the trade from the inspection authority to make sure that the same people aren't doing both.
Well, there's a tendency for inspectors to originate from tradesmen. I pointed that out. I think every tradesman wants his next career move is usually as an inspector. I think, of course, the inspector wants to be the supervisor inspector. So we can't discount that. So that's why when I say that labor and enforcement in most disciplines are actually the same person or the same way of thinking, that's what I mean. So I think we'll talk. Any comments on that?
We can get into the differences when you look at the elevator tradesperson when they're making $40 an hour, 40 plus in most cases, and you look at the elevator inspector, they're probably making 20 some to 30 some dollars an hour. There's a big difference there. So the person that doing
just the
these
reverse, huh? Of course, it depends on what organization you're, what the cash flow. I'm sure there's some benefits that make up for working for the government there, but it's a point well taken. Well, Dave, thanks very much. I'm going to close this recording. We'll ship this off to our man in LA, and we'll have him clean it up a little bit. We'll post it on our YouTube channel very shortly.